Okay. Well, dear God. Alright. Okay. Hi. So, I wanted to make a video about what's been going on, why my upload schedule's all over the place, why I disappear for months on end, and I need to be more transparent with you. I want to be more of myself on the platform, especially with everything that I'm currently going to be doing next. I need to be more open regarding things. 2020 was a crazy year for everyone, but not only with that and other world issues that happened in between it, it was one of the biggest and most crucial times in my life where I discovered a lot about myself and a lot of things that were going on, and so I do want to be more truthful with you. So a lot of you may see me as this very out there happy-lucky-go person who's extremely positive and just all around caring, and yeah, I care about people and stuff, but it also seems like I never really have an issue, or if I do, they're very faint, and I never really talk too much about it. So this is going to be my start of being more open and being more vulnerable in a sense. And not as in like a, oh, poor me thing, but more as in showing people that I'm human. That maybe even encourage other people as well. Maybe you're going for something similar to me. And if you are willing to listen and watch this video, that's awesome. If you don't really care and you just want edits, alright, we'll see you next video. So, that, saying that stuff, and sorry, I'm just anyways, with that, let's get into the main video. So, if I'm going to be transparent, let me talk a little bit about my backstory. I always actually had a pattern of always showing myself to be this happy, positive person where nothing really gets to me, or I just look on the bright side of things, not just on the internet, but in my own personal life. I kind of felt like it was accepted, I kind of felt like it was expected of me, and that, I don't know, it's just what was needed. No one else was being positive, so I guess I have to be. So, a lot of this stuff stems from, like, my actual parents were divorced. So they were married, but they were divorced when I was just a baby. A lot of issues and stuff regarding that, but for a good chunk of my life, I remember watching movies with parents in them, especially, like, father-daughter scenes, and just kind of feeling, like, lost, alone, and almost, I don't know, it just felt so surreal. Like, some people actually have their dads in their lives, and I don't have mine. And it made me feel kind of, like, upset in a way, almost like I blamed myself, in a sense, for not having my own dad in my life, which is not any means my fault. But because of that, it was something that always irked me, but I tried to kind of never, if people asked me about it, I wouldn't really say anything about it. I would be like, no, I'm fine. Eventually, though, my mom did get remarried to someone else, but he never really was like a father to me. He was more of like a older little brother that teased and picked on me and bullied me and stuff like that. And it didn't help because he still is an alcoholic with anger issues, who is, I don't know if he's bipolar or what, but some days he's a sweetheart, other days he's just scary. Especially when he drinks, it just brings out a real scary side of him. And growing up with that was a lot. Especially because when my mom married him, I was 8 years old. And I knew him already 3 years prior. So I had him in my life when I was 5 and on since then. So I grew up at a young age in a very hostile environment. And I remember sometimes asking for help, but people just kind of brushed it off or was like, oh, well, there's no way he can do that. He's such a super nice guy. I doubt that's really, are you sure? And they wouldn't really do anything other than that. No matter how scared I may have felt or what I said, they just wouldn't. So I kind of just stopped telling people, and I stopped asking for help regarding it, and just kind of dealt with it. As more and more times being with him, he's very particular in the way that he wanted everything. And if I messed up even a little bit or did anything he didn't like, he'd yell at me, scream at me, call me names. And it is just getting to the point where I was scared of breathing wrong without getting yelled at. And I just was always in fear. Like, there was an instance where I didn't clean my room and I accidentally left the light on when I was going downstairs to get something real quick. And I got distracted for a little bit. And I go back upstairs and he turned my power off. He unplugged all of the lights. It was nighttime. And told me I had to clean my room. And then he put my lights back on. So I had to clean my room. By the way, I was 8. In the dark. At night. And then eventually, my mom's the one that turned the lights back on. But so that kind of assesses some of the stuff that I went through. Especially being threatened and stuff. And one time I was playing with some beads, and one of them just like, you know, some kids flick beads or whatever. I don't know what I was doing, but the bead flew out of my door and went downstairs somewhere, and I had no idea where it went. And my stepdad was just sitting on the couch in silence, doing nothing but just sitting in silence for who knows how long. It was quiet as crap, and it was a bit scary, but he was just sitting there. And as soon as that went down, he shouted at me and told me to throw all my beads away. And I paused for a second because I didn't know what to do. And I was like, is he just saying that as a threat? Does he mean that bead? What? And he yelled again really loudly in a scary tone, like, throw all the beads away! Now! And that immediately shook. I don't know, there was just something in me that, like, felt as if he was going to hurt me or do something if I didn't. So I threw them all away, and I just left them there. I was scared if I grabbed him again, he'd get mad and hurt me or something. And my mom wasn't there either, so he could have done anything. And again, I'm this one child, and someone's yelling at me in this really scary way, so I just wanted to listen to him. So, this is just 2 of many things I went through my whole entire life with him. And it just constantly put me in fear of what I said, what I wore, even my tone. If I even sounded slightly upset, he'd get even angrier, and it would be my fault for it. And I'd always have to compensate for every small little thing I did. I'd have to watch my steps. I had to make sure I didn't fall too much. I couldn't make too many messes. And when you're a kid, you make a lot of mistakes. You mess up. You say dumb things. You have attitudes. I was not allowed to have an attitude in my house. I wasn't even allowed to be too sad in my house. If I had any feeling of upset, like any just even a expression on my face of being angry or sad, I'd be lectured and yelled at for 2 hours. Or spanked. So, that was my life. Anything he deemed, or anyways my mom deemed wrong, even if it didn't make any sense, I couldn't do. So, I was constantly in a state of, oh, don't do that, don't do that, do that. Make sure you're not doing this. Oh, what if he gets yelled at you? Da, 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 da. And so I eventually just tried to stay away from him and stay in my room. And I kind of became more like recluse, or at the time, I'd try to play with friends or whatever. And I always felt like everything was my fault, that it was a problem that I had to change and improve, because my mom would always say, when you make a mistake, learn from it. And she kept saying that, and so I was like, and even stuff he did, it was just like, oh, do this so he doesn't get mad at you anymore. And so I just always tried to do whatever I could to avoid the situation happening again. Even if it was so, it was like a firework or something going off, but the fuses, the fuse just goes off randomly, so there's just, you don't know when it's going off, or what it's going to do, or how loud it's going to be, or how far it's going to go. And it just made me so anxious and self-conscious of everything I do, and I started beating myself up whenever I made a mistake and when I got yelled at, like, look what you did, you made him angry, da da da, and just started really hating on myself. And it resulted in me with my friends kind of like letting them control me in a sense. And I remember the first day I felt really ugh. I think it was the day I first got really depressed. I was like 8 when I became very anxious and self-conscious and I started hating on myself, which is a really sad age to start that. And I remember sometimes looking at the window contemplating jumping out of it, which I was on the 2nd floor, so that's not very safe for a child to jump off of. And wanting to run away or just not be around anymore. And I started also getting scared of like natural disasters and everything, and I would be in my room for hours on end at night just staring at the door and the window, expecting anyone to barge in and hurt me or anything to happen that could kill me or hurt me. And I was just always afraid that something was going to happen or people were going to hate me, not like me. So I let people of all ages bully me and control me because I was so afraid of just not being liked or messing up, and I didn't realize the impact that had. And I would always try to build them up and help them when they were down, compliment them, and do all this stuff. And do whatever I could, because I hope maybe if I'm nice enough, if I'm sweet enough, maybe someone's gonna love me and not hate on me. Honestly, I felt as if I was this terrible person, like I deserved all the crap that I got. And I just didn't want to be that way. I was so scared of being bad. Like I saw my stepdad was, and I didn't want to be anything like that. And I was scared that I was going to turn into that. Especially when I got angry, I was always scared that I was going to just be exactly what he was. And that's still slightly one of the biggest fears I have till this day, because I can control my anger, but I'm scared when I can't. And I just don't want to hurt anyone the way that he hurt me and my mom. Anyways, another thing that I wanted to explain was, on top of all of this, as years went on, I'm a dancer. I've danced. I'm self-taught. Completely self-taught. My mom coached me and stuff, and I started noticing in churches, and when I started dancing more, everyone in the churches started being more, I don't know, it just, the atmosphere started to change. People started to fake smile around me and not really want to hug me, and people were actively trying to kick me out of dance events, groups, and I started wondering, like, why are you so actively at me? And one of the things is they said they were trying to humble me. I was already self-conscious as crap. I was also very nervous to dance on stage, but I danced anyways because I didn't really want to be out there. I didn't want all the attention on me. I just wanted to make people happy, so I danced to make people happy. I was good at it. People liked it. Okay. Then if it makes people happy and people not hate me, then I'll dance. But it seemed that people still hated me for dancing. And with all the sabotage and all the hatred, and it wasn't just like kids, it was like adults and teenagers actively spreading lies and saying all this stuff about me that really just made me. But anyways, my mom, she saw what I had in dancing, and that was something that she wanted to do when she was a kid, so she kept pushing me to dance and stuff, and it was fun at first, and she kept saying, oh, you're pleasing God, and you're ministering, and you're helping a lot of people. And yeah, it was true, but it started getting to the point where that was the only focus on it. It wasn't for me. It wasn't even for God anymore. It was just like I felt like I had to, because I was supposed to save people. I was supposed to fix people with my dances. So I keep doing it more and more. Even if I hurt myself, I had to push past my pain and keep going. Because, people on TV that do dance shows, they hurt themselves. They get broken ribs and they still dance anyways. They're grown people who are professionals who've probably done this a million times. I am a child. I shouldn't have to push past my pain for something. And it wasn't like, I wasn't even getting anything out of it. The thing is, stars usually do it because they get paid. They get money out of it. It's a job. They keep going through it. I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm just helping other people and such. But I'm over here with a hurt arm or a hurt ankle, and I have to just ignore that I feel like my foot's falling off. Because God will be pleased, and he won't be pleased if I just let the pain overtake me. You kind of get the situation I was in, and it was very like, oh, you're doing God's work, you're doing God's work, you're doing work, and it's like, oh, you're gonna disappoint people, or God's not gonna, and it just was so stressful as a child, because I started feeling like I have to do all these things for all these people. I have to dance, I have to make sure I'm into the song, I have to make sure everything's perfect, I have to make sure every move is right, because I would first start, like, I'd make dances up myself, and then my mom would critique it, and she wanted them certain ways, and there's some crazy things she wanted me to do that make no dang sense, but she wanted me to do things that made me uncomfortable and actually caused like pain to me while I was doing the dance moves, but she wanted me to do it that way because, oh, it looked good and it was perfect. Meanwhile, I'm in pain, and I had to act like it didn't hurt. I had to just put a smile on my face. I do a very expressive type of dancing, so I'm basically act out it's like method acting, but in dancing style is the best way I can describe it. And so everything I did, I had like, no matter what I felt in that moment, I had to like ignore it and just go with what the song said, which was a lot to constantly have in my brain, like, oh, you can't do this, I don't even know how I did it, God, because it was a lot to think at the same time. You gotta make sure the dance music, you gotta make sure your face is there, you have to make sure your expression's actually portraying it, you have to make sure you're on time, you have to make sure your body's accurately portraying what the emotion is in the song, and if anything negative happens, you have to immediately get up. If you are in pain, if your wardrobe acts up, you gotta keep dancing no matter what. And it is in the dance industry, but when it's constantly hurting you and it's not really helping you in a positive way, it's more of a hobby for me. It's not a passion, but it was as if I felt like it was all I could do. It was all I mattered for. It was my only purpose in life. And I had to pursue it because it's the only thing that went on. And as you can tell, that can actively affect a child to even not like their own gift that they do. And I remember one night just on my knees crying to God, like, God, please give me some, like, I don't say take this away from me, just get me another gift or something. I don't want to just be known for dancing. I just can't do dancing only. I don't want to only be known for dancing, God. I know it's good for you. I know you love it. I know it makes a smile on your face, but I can't just only dance for the rest of my life. And this all just goes into, I had a lot of things that repeatedly negative happened in my life. Like, the dancing was always a cycle of every time a thing would go on. Just constant, like, all right, you need to dance, you need to make people happy. No, you did it wrong, da-da-da. And if I messed up or I didn't do it right, the disgust in my mom's face and just like, not even looking at me in the eye. And if I didn't, and if it was so bad, she'd record what I did and show me how bad I was and tell me how bad I was and how I need to improve. It's not like, oh, you made a few mistakes, here's how you... No, this was terrible. This was disgusting. You really did that? You really think that's good? Oh, well, God is upset at you. Like, stuff like that. Like, oh, you could have done much better than that. Why did you, like... And then with my stepdad yelling at me, calling me names and all this stuff. Like, I couldn't even eat food right to him. He'd nitpick everything I did, how I ate my food, corrected everything I did, would call me a slob, would call me a pig, and all of this stuff. To the point where I had to eat a lot less, and I had to eat a certain way in front of him. I couldn't eat relaxed. I was always tense while with him, and it just really affected my eating habits now. With this, I was in constant fear from my stepdad, my mom, and people at my church. I went to several different churches, but there was a lot of patterns of people getting jealous and just like humbling me. And everyone for some reason thought that, oh, well, you dance by yourself, so I know you're not used to... I'm used to dancing with anyone, of any dance, of any style. I had to learn that. But when people second guess me or like, oh, well, you obviously don't understand, or you can't handle that, or da-da-da, well, you need to da-da-da-da-da-da, well, you need to talk to those kids, even though those kids bullied me and talked bad about me to my own family members. And it was just this constant, like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, no. Oh, well, you're not this, well, she doesn't like you because this, and then I do that and she still doesn't like me. And I was constantly just in fear of the world hating me, and it's constantly all these negative things happening, and I'd always get attacked and yelled and jabbed at and yelled at and in trouble for things I didn't even do. And I like, even if I misplaced something, I couldn't find like a school book or something, I'd get yelled at. And can remember times where I was like in my room trying to find something and frantically running around screaming, because if I don't find it in the next 5 minutes, I'm gonna get yelled at, maybe spanked or cursed out for not even putting it in the right place, even if I wasn't the one that put it away in the first place. And I was just so afraid of messing up. I was so afraid of looking bad. I was so afraid of just doing anything. I just wanted to do everything right. I needed to make sure everything was fine. And being in a religious background didn't help. I don't think religion is a bad thing. Religion can be really helpful to certain people. But when religion is made a relationship between you and God and not a cult ritual, everything was so ritualistic. You need to do this because God would be mad if you don't. You need to do this or God won't love you. Da 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 da. And it's like you had to compete against this. If you weren't a certain way, da da da. And it really sucked because it all correlated to more people's opinions and not actually what the Bible said or what God actually wanted me to do. It's all like, well, I think God said you should do this, and if you don't do this, you're bad, or da 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 da. And I was so pushed to be this perfect, positive, happy, lucky-go Christian girl. Like, everyone's like, oh, you're gonna do so great things in life, and I'm okay. But everyone was so adamant that I was gonna be this perfect, preaching girl who danced all around the world, touched hearts, saved souls, healed them all the time, that I was just so pushed. I couldn't have a negative time. I couldn't, even with my mental problems and getting, like, depressed and everything, my parents would just blow it off. My mom would be like, oh, whatever, just ignore it. Just pray it away. Just ask God to get rid of it, and you'll be fine. If I got angry, I'd be pointing like, oh, you're acting just like your stepdad. God doesn't want you to act just like him. So let it go. Stop getting angry. Stop being upset. God doesn't like you upset. God doesn't like you being angry. Which, there's nothing in the Bible that says that. He said just watch how you let your anger control you. But it was stuff like that. And I was constantly competing and doing all this stuff. I had to be strong. I had to be this super overly intellectual person that was there for parents. Like, my mom even told me, like, oh, when your stepdad's weak and when I'm weak, you need to step up and be the head of the house. You have to pray and war for the family so that we don't fall apart. All this pressure on me as I'm growing up, starting from 8, and I couldn't be weak. I couldn't be vulnerable. And if I was vulnerable, I was told to shut the hell up. Man up. People go through worse things. God doesn't want you to be upset. Oh, you're letting Satan have power over you because you're getting all upset. And this was my life every day. For 20 years of my life. So, going on to 2019, when I was 19, after a lot of issues, my depression and anxiety was at a terrible low. I honestly was contemplating running away. This was a year after my family lost their dream home. I had a lot of instances of my family losing their homes and getting evicted from a lot, and this one was like the real punch in the gut. I just started losing a lot of interest in editing and everything, even dancing and all that thing I was pushed to love. And I used to dance in the church and worship, and I would do my own thing and just in a certain area in the church. And I started just not to have the passion to do that anymore. And I stopped talking to a lot of my friends. I stopped talking to a lot of people, and I just kind of went away. I just felt like I didn't have a purpose, or my purpose was just to suffer for other people. I remember telling that to myself several times. Well, I guess God wants me to suffer for everyone else. I'm just supposed to be a martyr, and I guess it's just my calling in life, to feel pain and suffering so everyone else can be happy. If the whole world could be happy and I have to be miserable, then I guess I will be. I started just not having any motivation for anything, and I just sit in front of like my computer or TV watching just YouTube videos and just sitting there hating myself for not doing anything productive and not doing anything that I should be doing, but not having the motivation to do it. And if I tried to do it, I just couldn't, or it'd be very and I'd be all mad at myself, like, where did my creativity go? I used to be able to do this so well, I used to be able to do this so fast, but now I can't even do this anymore. And I started just to stop caring about myself and just everything. Nothing mattered anymore. Nothing really made me happy. It's just this constant cycle of pain, and every time I had my hopes in something, it'd come back in my face as a mess. It just crumbled in front of me. So I just kind of stopped really having hope for anything, because if I get hopeful, I'm going to just get hurt anyway, so what's the point? But I wanted help. I wanted to talk to people, but still some of the people that I was reaching out to just wanted me to be their vent buddy, where they can vent and get advice. And when I needed help from them, and when I needed to say something, they'd all go, oh, well, my problem, and then we wouldn't talk about it anymore. So I just felt like nothing really mattered. I honestly, at that time, I just felt like I wasn't really worthy of anything. I just wanted to be accepted. I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted someone to care about me. But at the time, I was like, there's no point. No one cares and loves about me. They just only care about what I do for them. I'm honestly scared of how bad I got then and how bad it could have been. So, thankfully, during this time frame, I got into voice acting, and that brought me a lot of new friends and some really cool ones that have helped me a lot in this situation. And this one friend who was an outsider, because a lot of my friends were kind of in similar situations or whatever, so they didn't really see it as different, and I just thought it was just how life was, and that I was just suffering, and helped me realize, like, one, a lot of things that weren't my fault and that I shouldn't have to go through. And then I was valid for the feelings that I had. I was valid for feeling so hurt, and listened to me and everything that went on about it, which started giving me motivation to get help and find understanding in what was going on with me. I couldn't understand how I was feeling or how to communicate it, and there's just so many issues, especially with just like how hard my parents were on me this time. I kept forgetting things. I just kept dazing out. I'd just lose hours of my day. And there'd just be times where I seemed like a different person to people, and they'd be like, what's going on with you? And a lot of this stuff's been happening my whole entire life, but this was the moment I started really realizing it. And I started to finally just start researching more to investigate what it was, so I can actually like get better, because I was done being done with life. And it was like my one last thing. It's like, if I could just get better now, then. So I started focusing more on my mental health, and I wanted to start loving myself with the help of my friends. especially one that's been a cheerleader for me practically and has helped me realize my value and who I am and pushed me to actually go for help. The sad thing of people being stuck inside. And I started stumbling upon a lot more like mental health stuff, because mental health started getting more serious because everyone was stuck in their house, and just how disorders affect people, and especially those that are trauma victims, how much they can affect people and actively deal with things, and it explains why they do things in their life. And I related to a lot of them, and it made me just finally understand myself. Like, I probably am dealing with this. Now, my parents don't really like therapists. They kind of do, but they have to be Christians, and they kind of have to just say, all right, Bible, and then leave. So I never really got a therapist or any of that. My parents didn't even think of putting me in therapy or whatever. And so during this, I started being more open to the therapy, like right therapist, and understanding more of the mental health, because it's like, look, I'm going to just figure out for myself, and eventually when I can actually leave my house, because again, I'm 20 at this time, I will go and get myself mental health. And the more I learn about these, the more I start realizing things in my life. Like, for instance, like, explained how my environments, I'd zone out a lot. I would just lose time in my day. I'd just sit there and be like confused. I'd have moments where I just couldn't think almost. It was just like I felt in this weird pattern where I lost a lot of memory. I felt different. I just felt like I was acting like a completely different person in a situation. And apparently that's actually called dissociation, when you're like not in the situation. Your brain kind of separates you in the situation and puts you kind of like in autopilot mode where you're zoned out in a sense. And it usually happens when someone's overwhelmed or in a negative situation. And I found out, I dissociate. That makes a lot of sense why I daydream so much and why I have moments where I'm just out of it. And since I had a lot of anxiety, it would make a lot of sense if that happened. The next thing was flashbacks. I never really understood why. Sometimes I get so caught up in such a situation and I have this weird feeling and I'd be like lost. I would almost like not know where the hell I was. And I'd be super confused and scared and feel like I'm in this place of danger randomly because someone said, a sound that went off or whatever. Which I thought PTSD is what it is. I thought it was only for Army veterans. I don't know why I only thought they dealt with it. I just did. Oh, you have to go to the Army to have it. I don't know. Maybe my parents told me this. And another thing was like amnesia. Again, like I said, I'd zone out and forget things. And I remember sometimes when people would tell me like stuff to do, even if it's like 2 or 3, 4, or a big list. And I would go, okay. And I would re-say it to them. And then I'd walk away. And then I'd stop and be like, what am I supposed to do again? And I'd turn around, go over there and ask them again. And sometimes it happened 3 or 4 times. And it was just so much. I always would get frustrated with me trying to... I was trying to, like... my mom always thought it was like a listening problem, that I didn't listen. So I had to try to read up on how to listen better and do that stuff. And it never improved. I'd always forget, or I wouldn't hear people right. Like if someone would talk about something, sometimes it'd get all muffled. And I'd feel like I was in a different room almost. Like I wasn't there when they were talking. And I'd try to listen. I really tried to, but it wouldn't work. Now, the reason why I'm saying all of this is because a lot of things have been going on about a disorder known as DID. And again, this disorder, well, a lot of the side effects are you have amnesia, you black out, you act like a completely different person during time frames, you can get flashbacks, and it makes sense with sometimes how I'd act like a different person, where I remember times my mom yelled at me for walking too much like a guy, and I'd be like, I'm walking like a guy, I'm just walking normally. What's going on here? What? And as I researched more of this, I didn't want to accept it. I couldn't think of it. It just didn't register with me. Like, I'm not the person... It took me years to just finally say I have anxiety and depression. Even when I knew I did, I refused to say it until I knew it. And so when I'm researching this and seeing videos about it and da-da-da-da-da, because DID is dissociative identity disorder. It used to be called split personality or multiple personality disorder, which is completely wrong and infactual. It's not random personalities. It's identities through dissociation. And it happens from repeated childhood trauma. I'm going to have a few videos up that can explain it more in detail, but I just wanted to give you a rough draft version of it, and you can go look into it for yourself. It's very fascinating, and it's also very tragic how it happens. But repeated childhood trauma during the time frame when your brain's finally developing its personality. And if the trauma goes in the way, it keeps it from fully making one, and has to put up amnesia to protect the brain and make it feel safe. Protect that child to make them feel safe and forget what's happening so they can actually keep living. They can survive. And with my background and this constant cycle of just being afraid and worrying about everything and feeling so lost and empty, and I had to be whatever someone wanted me to be in that moment. I had to change my personality in front of everyone all the time just to please them and to protect myself and feel safe and more comfortable in the situation, because I felt like I myself could not do that. And it makes a lot of sense because a lot of people would notice me. I would talk to my imaginary friends all the time, and that carried on even when I was 20. And I remember being 16 and yelling at myself, like, why am I talking to myself? I need to stop doing that. I am 16 years old, and people get over their imaginary friends when they're like 7. Why can't I stop doing that? Why do I constantly keep saying things to myself? And it wasn't just talking to myself. I would talk for my imaginary friends in different voices. Naturally, I never thought of it or anything. I'd even hear them in my head, and I would talk to them, sometimes out loud or internally, and have my own little world in a sense. And even after researching this and having so many things that made a lot of sense and fit, I refused to even think that I could have DID or anything close to it. Which apparently is another thing that it does. It constantly tries to hide itself and keeps you from seeing what's actually happening. So as I started to go into it more, suddenly I started seeing more in myself. Seeing the different sides of myself. Even to the point where one of my sides showed themselves in front of my friend that helped me a lot. And they recorded the whole thing, and it was completely different behavior, different voices, just mannerisms, all that stuff. And I remember being aware of it and screaming and freaking out. I didn't know what was going on, but suddenly that's when I was like, okay, I can't say I don't have it now. I can't run from it. It's literally in my face. And I started to talk to these other parts of me, which are called alters, learn who they were and all that stuff. And it started to finally align. I never thought something that I've been looking for years, because I always knew something was wrong with me. There was always something that I just couldn't understand why I had all these issues and I could never get over it. And I finally had the answer in front of me, but it was such a scary thing. It's a sad thing to deal with and realize, but it finally makes sense why I had so many issues and so many problems. And it's something that you can't just take a pill and be done with it. Okay? You have to learn how to deal with it. Some people can heal from it, but healing differs between the individual. So, I don't think I fully have DID. And I am going to find a therapist for it and stuff. I'm not going to just say, oh, I have this. No, I'm looking into this. This is a concern, and I'm going to be open and vulnerable with you because I can't hide it anymore. If this is legit something I'm dealing with, true or not, I need to be open with this so I can heal and can help me get the right help. But there's another form of DID called OSDD, Otherwise Specified Dissociative Identity Disorder. It's a mouthful. Basically, it's where you don't have all the characteristics of DID. One of them is I didn't have severe amnesia. Like, I would black out, but I'd always would be able to, like, even if a little bit of time, remember what happened, even if I had no emotional impact from it. Even if I didn't really feel that same emotional feeling. I could remember what happened, even if it's just vaguely. I had some feeling that I was always still there. Which is why... Thanks! Which is why it was a lot harder for me to figure it out, because I didn't fully blank out most of the time. I was always slightly aware of what was happening. I could recite what happened, even if there was some parts missing to it. Now again, there's different types of OSDD, so I have no idea which category exactly I think OSDD would be, which is like little to no amnesia. But you still have distinct alters and everything like that. But I'm going to get the right help to actually get the right diagnosis for what it really is. So, basically, what that means is I am not, I guess, an I, I'm a we. I'm a part of what they call a system, as people who have alters and have DID or OSDD or what other form of it. My brain has made multiple identities. There's other ways of saying it, but I'm just trying to sum it up. To help me cope with life and deal with it. And we switch in and out of situations depending on what it is. And all of it's helped me feel safe. And it's been a hell of a ride from last year to this year, and finally being open with it. And it's really scary. But for more videos, whether it's on my main channel or second channel, I'll decide. I want to show you the best to my abilities of what I'm dealing with. Show you my alters and all that. Because on top of this, I've noticed a lot of people have had stigmatized ideas for DID. Which, I'm being honest, I was one of those people. I was one of the people that thought they were bad people. And I apologize to every person. It's funny how that happened, and then I ended up being one of them. But they're not harmful people. We're not evil people. We're just hurt people. Yes, some people with DID could be evil, but not everyone is. Just like people who don't have DID can be evil, and some aren't. It doesn't mean everyone's that way. And it's sad that media shows mental illness as something that is a bad thing. And I mean, it's not the best thing, but it's something that people deal with. And they just need healing for it. And I'm not saying this because, oh, it's so big, it's a trend. I don't give a crap if you care or if you like it. I don't really want everyone to go, oh, no, I'm just being open. I'm not doing this because it's a trend. I wouldn't just jump on a bandwagon of people who were so hurt and damaged because of their experiences over it. No. I'm just going to be open with you and what, as we've experienced recently and what we've been learning. And from moving forward, I'll no longer just be Cat. Will be the wing system. Now, we're not going to change your name on YouTube. We're going to keep it like that. But being addressed as a whole is wing system. You can still call me individually as Kat or Kayla. I don't really mind. But the alters that are open to show themselves, I leave this platform open to them. So they can say what they want to say and add what they want to add. And you can make up your mind yourself whether you think that, oh, it's just a game, or whether it's real. I don't care. I'm not here to prove anything to you. I'm just going to be vulnerable, and I know how scary that could be in this time of day. But in order for me to truly be myself and to no longer hide anything and heal from my past, I need to be open. I need to be vulnerable. Thank you, everyone who's watched this video. I don't know how long it is, but whether it's like 10 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour, thank you for watching this. Thank you for caring. We have to get used to saying we. I, as my individual alter, and all the other alters, really appreciate your support and those who will support us in the future. If you have any questions, you can ask in the comments. We'll love to answer. It might not just be me. It could be other alters too. Hopefully we can help unstigmatize DID, OSD, and mental health altogether. Or at least the best of our abilities. I love you guys all so much. And I'll see ya. Or not. Depends on if you want to. In the next video. Well, I guess we'll see you in the next video. Anyways, bye!